So one of the more intriguing players in the 2025 NFL draft class is Georgia linebacker Jalon Walker. The 49ers could essentially be getting a 2-for-1 with the selection of Jalon Walker at pick 11 if he's there. Where the 49ers might need him the most is to be determined, of course. They have a massive need at edge rusher. They have a massive need at outside linebacker with Dre Greenlaw going to the Denver Broncos in free agency. But a 2-for-1 selection here for the 49ers with Jalon Walker it would be a home run. Obviously at Georgia, he was considered, for the most part, an off-ball linebacker, but also an edge rusher. He could replace Dre Greenlaw on base downs, and then they could also throw him in at edge rusher if they needed to on third downs or something of that nature. They could throw him at edge rusher whenever they want to, really. But I would imagine that they could look at him and potentially use him as a replacement for Dre Greenlaw on base downs. But obviously with D. Winters, I'm excited to see what he could potentially do next year in the midst of losing Dre Greenlaw. He showed some flashes, but obviously he's only going to get better with more reps. And I really do have high hopes for D. Winters, and I truly do hope that he can become the next Dre Greenlaw next to Fred Warner in this defense. But Jalon Walker in college won the Dick Butkus Award as the best linebacker in college football, which is a massive achievement. But again, man, he could drop down and provide the 49ers with a complement to Nick Bosa and rush the passer from the other side on certain downs and nickel situations. But again, they could also use him as a Dre Greenlaw replacement on base downs. A guy like Jalon Walker whoever ends up drafting Jalon Walker, what a lucky team they are. He is a little smaller to play defensive end full time. He's 6'1", 243 pounds. So I definitely do think that, setting edges against tight ends and offensive tackles could be a challenge for him. But he has shown he has more than enough speed and agility to play linebacker. And this is a guy that would absolutely be a terror next to Fred Warner. He essentially has all the speed and all the violence that Dre Greenlaw played with. I do think if he's there at pick 11, let's say both tackles are off the board at pick 11 overall, and you have, and by both tackles, I mean Will Campbell and Armand Membu, and you're looking at skill position players still available, Will Johnson, Jalon Walker. Then you look at some of the defensive linemen, James Pierce Jr., Mike Green, Mikael Williams, Walter Nolan. Let's say everybody is on the board here at pick 11 besides both of those tackles. I think it would genuinely be tough for the 49ers to pass on Jalon Walker, but I also think it would be tough for them to pass on almost anybody here because they have a bunch of needs. There's a lot of areas of need within this 49ers team. So no matter who they go with here at pick 11, it's going to fill a need to some capacity. But again, knowing that Jalon Walker could kind of be a 2-for-1 type of player, that could give him the edge amongst some of the other players that are going to be available here at pick 11, and that could, set the 49ers over the edge and end up taking to where they end up taking Jalon Walker. So, Walker could bail them out. They obviously, they need a starting linebacker outside of Fred Warner. And obviously, again, it's expected to be D. Winters. But they also need a starting defensive end at this point in free agency as well. Somebody to complement Nick Bosa. They're in a pretty tough spot, but Jalon Walker could absolutely bail them out here if they elect to pick him at number 11 overall. I mean, he can essentially be a player that could fix two of their issues in this NFL draft. He's a must-have type of player for really any defense. But I mean, him next to Fred Warner, and then also having the ability to be a speed rusher opposite of Nick Bosa in nickel situations and things like that. It's a game-changing type of player. I mean, that's why he's drawing comparisons to Micah Parsons. Micah Parsons can play off-ball linebacker, and he can also be a premier dominant edge rusher. Now, obviously, Micah Parsons is a little bit different in size. Micah Parsons is 6'3", weighs like 250. So again, Jalen Walker's smaller, but in terms of the weight's there. He would definitely be somewhat of a, I guess, lighter defensive end, if you will. But I think it's known that Robert Saleh has no problem taking lighter defensive ends. He did it with Will McDonald in the first round when he was with the Jets, and that seemed to be a pick that just turned out completely fine. So let me know what you guys think of the 49ers potentially drafting Jalen Walker at pick 11 overall. This is a guy that's really kind of surged on draft boards. He's really starting to gain steam as one of the best players in the 2025 NFL draft, and he's likely going to be available at pick 11 when the 49ers are on the clock. So do the 49ers take Jalen Walker? Let me know in the comments down below. As always, go Niners. I'll see you guys in the next one.